whenever you're ready. Before we begin, I'll take a moment to thank you for coming out here. We know you have a very busy schedule, and hopefully that you enjoy it. With that being said, sometimes defense is the best offense. It's a model you often hear. It's also played in a lot of sports, illustrated magazines, things along the lines. But stereotypes tend to have no good truth to it. My name is Aiden Farrell. This is Zarif Alam, Brendan Jackson. Here to present. So, what's going on? The main problem that we've found among the case here for Sierra is that there's issues within the African supply chain within South Africa. With the goal that was given, generate an additional $10 million within the South African economy for our company. Our internal solution for that is a diversification strategy. Just a bit of background. The South African economy is a BRICS nation, so it falls into the same line as Brazil, Russia, India, China. It was recently added on within the past 10 years to qualify with them because they have a similar scale of economy to it. So they're comparable. That's essentially the base on where we're working on. It is considered a developing nation within the nation of Africa, one of the most developed, but still classified as developing among the OECD nations. It has a large, young, growing population and a very large market. This is younger that takes place within a population sphere, population boom. The company analysis of Sierra. In the previous 2 years, Sierras have increased by $1,900,000, but because of that, under that, there has been a loss of just under $500,000 from that profit, bringing your total operation cost to about $2 million more than $2,000. You have partnered with 2 different distributors over the span of these 2 years. The first one not meeting your expectations, and the second one still not quite meeting the expectation that was provided. And unfortunately, there was a loss of the country manager halfway through 2018, where he had gone on to work for a Coca-Cola company in Dubai.
So, for the options considered, there was 2 main options that were mainly considered. First was using the distribution option with the 5 different current companies. You guys used one of them, which you guys fired about a year ago now, and the other one has also taken place already. But in that time, you guys haven't realized your maximum growth yet of $10 million. You're only at about $2.3 million in current sales, which your goal was $10 million, obviously. So with this in mind, the options considered were to either partner with a distributor, which you guys already have, and look at different options. Maybe the current one you guys offer or have right now isn't the right option to use. So there was 5 options for that. And then the other option there would be to set up your own distribution network in South Africa. As you guys know, South Africa is a developing nation, and the infrastructure isn't the best compared to Canada or the United States. And with that in mind, setting up a distribution chain for South Africa would be quite a bit of work. So when we narrowed it down, we kind of did put it down into 3 main categories. First off was cost. So the cost to introduce a new supply chain of your own is going to be very, very costly compared to going with a distributor. Obviously, the cost is a little bit different. You're paying them with a discount instead of putting out money straight up. The next thing was control. So with a distributor, you're not going to have full control over how much sales you guys can produce or any of the logistics kind of in that. Currently, right now, you guys are using the distributor, and 20% of the time, you guys are out of stock, which is not a good thing. So having your own distribution chain, you guys can manage your inventory levels a little bit better and offer better supply and demand, obviously, for your products. And the last thing would be risk. So with the distributor, you guys have minimal risk because you don't have that many assets currently tied up in South Africa compared to if you guys develop your own supply chain. That's a big investment cash-wise, and it will tie up a lot of assets.
So what's Sierra's next move? Me personally, coming from a developing country, I've seen and I've watched large companies come to our nations and just crumble. Sierra is providing luxury items for the public, for their consumers, but the income is just not there for them to sell. So what should Sierra do next? So with that in mind, what we are suggesting, Sierra unfortunately has to leave South Africa. I know you guys gambled a lot in this, but it's just not working out for you. So exit would be a good thing to do right now. So right after that, we're saying just focus on California. You guys have a huge foothold in California. Build on that. It's time to become a big player in California. And after that, after we've worked out California, we've worked our way up the north end, why not extend? Why not expand even more? Expand within our reaches, and then we'll look into South Africa, maybe 5 years down the line, but just not yet for Sierra. So why exit again? So market potential, it's just not reaching what we thought it would be. So it's not happening for you guys in South Africa. So leaving is, I guess, the only way Sierra can be good off right now. So, and the distribution failures. You tried 2 distributors, it's just not happening for you guys. There's a huge communication gap. So it's just not going through for you guys. They're not meeting your expectations. It's just not happening. And then the economy in South Africa on its own, it's stagnant. It's not going anywhere. It's just steady. Time is money, guys. How long are you going to wait? How long are you going to wait for the economy to boom? How long are you going to wait for the economy to turn around? You're just losing money. So it's time to get out, and the time is right now.
So back to the roots. You guys have had great success in the California market, where you guys already have established great connections with the high and mid-range bars and lounges to provide your alcohol at their facilities, obviously. So going back to that, you guys already have all the distribution and supply chains set up currently in California, which you guys can grow on and expand going forward into the future. Basically, just going on with that, it is all up to you guys. You guys have developed a great brand so far in California. There's lots of opportunities internally. Looking back at South Africa, there's a large gap geographically, just looking at California to South Africa. It's a totally different part of the world. Just supply and demand and supplying all these places, it's a lot easier to do it, especially when you guys are located in California. Your current distilleries are in Napa Valley, which is in the northern part of California. And currently you guys are head office in LA, which is kind of far, but you're still in the same area, and it's also a nice opportunity to expand upwards into northern California and the states above, possibly going forward. So the expansion possibilities leading up to that, obviously the geographics between California and kind of eastern United States would be the Rocky Mountains. So the goal here would be kind of to stay in line with the Rocky Mountains and head north. This would obviously be easier on the transportation and everything else, not to mention the gap in the population in the Midwest United States. Obviously California is pretty big. You go north into Oregon and Washington, you guys have Portland, you guys have Seattle, you have 2 major city centers right there off the top. And then also a possibility would be into Canada, up into British Columbia, which is another nice possibility because it is a more luxurious area with higher demographics, higher wages for people to spend more on this premium alcohol compared to other locations. So it would be a nice opportunity for further expansion in the future and growth in many opportunities.
We set up a rudimentary timeline as to what to expect to try to get this process expedited to make sure that you guys go back to making money and we can begin phasing out issues that have come along and moving on with the business. Beginning with this 3-step program. Consolidate, recover, expand. 3 simple words, 3 powerful words. We've broken it down to a 12-1-year time frame with processes going on in conjunction with each other. Beginning with the consolidation, we want to make sure that we exit out of South Africa as quickly as possible. The fact that the equipment was leased does pay credence to that, allowing us to exit as quickly as we can to make sure that we leave as little of an impact, as well as offering severance to the employees that will be affected by this, and moving into essentially cut the losses, and then moving to the recovery phase that will be going on in tandem. With recovery expecting to last for around 9 months, that's essentially our consolidation process, continue on knowing what works for us, getting that right, focusing on the market share within the LA market for you, and then begin rolling into the expansion process starting at the beginning of month 9. like I said, the consolidation, the partnership with the Galarian will have to be severed. Unfortunately, they were not providing the services that you were requiring for that $10 million in growth that was expected. As stated, the severance would also have to be cut out to the 7 employees. We estimated around 6 months' wages for the estimated $1,500 of the annual South African wage for the 2/3 of the population. And as stated, terminating the lease agreements and any outstanding obligations to anyone within South Africa as to not leave anything on the table that would come back to perhaps cause issues if the South African market did decide to become a boom market again, and they were in the cards to come back at a certain point in the future.
So recover. We start right now, we pull out, and it's a 9-month period where Sierra is trying to recover from the setback that was brought in from South Africa. So once again, I'm saying it again, I'm a big LA fan, so I'm focusing on LA. So we're focusing on LA. The recovery period, we have taken a setback, but Sierra can come back stronger. Once again, you guys have your foothold in that market. You guys are doing very well in a short period of time. So it's time to become a major player. You guys are producing luxury products. What better place to sell it than Hollywood? So it's time for you guys to make it big. And then you guys now are saving a lot of money from pulling out from South Africa. So it's time for you to invest in more advertisement within the local demographic of LA. So we're getting the word out for Sierra. We're just letting people know that Sierra is here to play. And finally, we're trying to get more market share for Sierra within the luxury alcoholic market. So we want you guys to be a big player once again, because we see the potential for Sierra to become one of the biggest out there. So expand. So once again, with the expansion plan, you can always move up north from LA, and we're focusing from month 9 and onwards. So first of all, we want to just plan the 9th month to just expand into Oregon and Washington. Those are the closest places. It's easier for you to distribute it that way. So it's going to be easy for you to just expand there and just take it easy step by step. Then next up, we just start contacting the high-end bars near around the new cities, the places we want to expand. So we're just going to go talk to the high-end bars. We already have a lot of high-end bars in the West Coast under Sierra. So you guys already have a good brand name with all the high-end bars in the West Coast. So that's the really easy part. And finally, Sierra is going to look into expanding into British Columbia. Why not? British Columbia is a huge, huge market. People here make huge, huge money. So it's time for Sierra to expand internationally. This is the international expansion you guys have been wanting. So might as well try and go for British Columbia.
Just going back to the overview, so we have it all tied together with a nice little ribbon. The consolidation process, as stated, is more than likely going to become the most painful part. The closing down sucks. No one likes to realize that they've left a market. It's something that they feel like they could have done more. But you have to look at the cards on the table. Unfortunately, the South African market, while there's massive, massive, massive potential there, just isn't ready yet. It's like the Ultra advertising was around 4 years ago. Within the recovery process as well, we need to make sure that that is done to the best of the ability to make sure that Sierra is able to maintain some competitive within the markets that it already has, the United States market, within the area of California. Making sure that that's all consolidated properly and able to get the efficiencies that would come from having a centralized supply line in areas such as California. And the expansion possibilities, looking into Northern California, farther up there, Oregon, Washington, possible BC later on the line. Something that we can have for future growth to show that the company isn't just gridlocked in a certain area, locked or permanently, just become a local icon. Something that can be looked forward to as an international, perhaps further down the line. It could be a year afterwards and 2 years afterwards. Future remains to be seen. The future's in your hands.
What's the benefit to you guys? Obviously, you guys are going to be saving some money with this plan here. First off, we look at the general and administrative savings. So for this, we calculated based on your 13.5% of your annual revenue from South Africa. So that'll be savings right off the top there, as well as the net loss savings. So this is just kind of a rounded number. Obviously, the past 2 years, you guys have lost just about $500,000. So this is basically what you guys lost in 2018 on the financials for you guys, as well as there would be a couple expenses for this. Obviously, the severance packages which we kind of alluded to earlier, will be about $25,000 in expenses, as well as a contingency fund, which is about 20% is what we estimated at $100,000. So at the end of this, obviously you guys are going to be saving some money, and it'll be just over $400,000 in savings by doing this plan and going forward with it. And by doing this, we have a couple ideas to go into what's next for you guys. So with this savings, we suggest that you guys invest it back into the California market, back into marketing and advertising to get a better foothold in the market. With this, that's $410,000. It is a lot of money to do some stuff for you guys to brand yourself a little bit better and position yourself better for the future, as well as the 250,000 bottles extra to get your 500 or $10 million, sorry. So we base that off of a $40 bottle of your product. Obviously the exact number isn't given, so we just estimate $40 per bottle. But looking back at the South African bottles, they were all in 90-liter bottles compared to the 750 ml that you guys currently offer in the United States. So basically, when you do the math, it's 250,000 extra bottles to get the $10 million. In South Africa, if you put them into 750 ml bottles, it would be 110,000 bottles of what you guys currently sold last year in South Africa. So doing this, you just basically have to double it, and you guys would be able to hit your $10 million goal in addition.
So every plan has its own risks. So there are a couple of risks of pulling out of South Africa. As you can see, the first one, what happens if South Africa's economy just turns around in 1 year and you're just missing out? Well, the thing with you pulling out is you always have those 5 distributors who are willing to work with you at all times. So you can always go back into those markets, you can always lease those equipment, so you can and those equipments are leased for a year. So you can always go back, and South Africa is always there for you when the economy is back on its feet and you can just get it again. And one more thing, the slow market share growth in North America. The expansion is not as we expect. It happens in North America. It's really it's really unpredictable. So many competitors. But you can always change that by investing more. Yes, you're already saving $410,000, but for Sierra, investing even more money is going to be even better. So apart from the savings, you invest more money into this campaign and just go big and just go become a big player. And Sierra just becomes one of the big icons in the luxury alcohol business.
As the key performance indicators that we expect to have you guys see after the project is implemented, within 3 months, we would like to see you exit the South African economy, the South African market. Just get this done, lick your wounds, come back and rally. That's the perfect thing that needs to be done in this situation to make sure that we can come back and be as strong as ever. Increase your own market share by 10% within 12 months. We believe it's an absolutely reasonable expectation to make, to increase your own personal market share within 10 months. Not the total market share, but your own personal, to increase the overall revenues. As well as to generate $10 million within 18 months. With the numbers that were given previously, we do believe that this is a 100% obtainable goal that was given originally in South Africa that can be met in the United States. So just in summary, going back to this, the problem that was had was the issue in the African supply chain. Unfortunately, as much as we would love for Africa to have worked, it will not work at this time. The market just isn't there yet. The goal to generate the extra $10 million, 100% obtainable. That's something that I can see you guys doing 100%, and my team believes that we can get this done easily. The solution, the diversification within the American markets, as much as it seemed counterintuitive to say diversity, you're leaving one market and just staying in one. You're diversifying within an already obscenely large market. Everyone knows the United States is the largest market on earth. Several $1 trillion annually. It's just a giant. With that, I would like to leave you with one note. I want you to imagine a couple. One stays in Vancouver, one stays in Seattle. Sierra and John. They come to the bar. Sierra's visiting John in Vancouver. They go to the bar. Their favorite bar could be somewhere in town, Metro Vancouver. They go there. They buy themselves a nice bottle of Sierra peach schnapps. And they know, at the end of the day, they're going to be enjoying themselves.
We'll now commence the Q&A period.
Yeah, so 250% growth in 18 months is a rocket ship I want to be on. You know, with your our original expansion strategy flopping as badly as it did, what are we going to be doing differently to ensure that this one's going to work?
Obviously, through the first one, it is totally on the other side of the world. Just logistically, it's hard to get products to South Africa, especially in a timely manner. So it was a 2-month turnover between purchase and receiving product. So with this, obviously the transition time between product purchase and arrival is going to be a lot less. And with that, obviously additional savings on the shipping and freight and all that. So doing that will definitely alleviate some of those costs and pressures. So you can just better manage it within the United States, closer to home, and obviously hire from the country you guys are from and monitor it a lot smoother going forward.
Can I take on to that question?
Go right for it, man.
So in the KPI, you talked about in 12 months, we had a 10% lift in our revenues in the US. Right now, we're at 4 million, which means we're increasing by 400,000, and you want in 18 months to hit 10 million. How are we going to make up the 9.6 in 6 months?
Just based on the numbers that we were given, $4 million market share within the United States, we just wanted to get something to show that there is interest in the company. So by going onto that and then increasing overall production and sales, as you're not going to be shipping as much internationally, such as through the Panama Canal or going through that, you're going to be able to sell more stuff and have more product in the United States. And by that northern expansion, we expect to increase the sales as opposed to just staying within the LA area and the Napa Valley. California is one of the largest economies on its own. If it was one of its own countries, it'd be like the 3rd largest economy in the world, if I recall numbers correctly. It is, within the United States, is a giant of itself. So there are perfect areas for company.
So one of the things I noticed in the financial statements that we seem to be doing pretty good in selling our sparkling wines. There's some growth there in revenues. But I think a lot of the failures you're attributing to supply chain management. Is that something that you feel can't be overcome? That there would be ways to fix that?
There are ways you could do it, but unfortunately, especially within countries like South Africa, it's a lot more, it's almost to say that there's issues within the supply chain itself and the greater government areas. I'm not sure if you're aware of the current political situations in South Africa right now with the ousting of the former President Jacob Zuma. There's a lot of political upheaval and issues there, as well as the aftermath of apartheid. There are several, not only socioeconomic issues, but logistical issues that come about from the fact that an inept government can't collect taxes, an inept government can't build roads, you're losing issues there left and right. You can do as much as you want to try to fix your own personal logistics, but if the government logistics sucks, there's not much you can do to fix that.
Also to add on to his point there, the margins on sparkling wine is about 1/3 of your margin on any other product. And you see that basically the revenue generated that has increased is basically from sparkling wine, and you guys are still operating at a net loss. So by doing that, it just doesn't really, it's not making you guys profit on it at the end of the day.
Can you explain how you got the 250,000 calculation again from the number of bottles?
Okay, yep, so that was 9 liters per bottle, sold in South Africa. I guess you guys are selling them in 9-liter volumes. So in the United States, you guys sell them at 750 ml. And by doing that, we calculated it to be $40 per bottle at, sorry, I said blank there. $40 a bottle divided by $10 million came out to 250,000 bottles.
And I guess one of the challenges for us so far was market selection in South Africa. So how did you choose kind of the west coast of the United States? How did you choose British Columbia as opposed to Midwest US, Eastern US, any other markets?
So as you can see, Sierra is pretty young. So you were only 7 years old when you moved into South Africa. So we're moving along the coastline right up. So we're trying to move up, taking it slow. We don't want to jump in for Sierra right away. We're just moving it up towards British Columbia and then trying to move center. It's the kind of little process we thought about Sierra. So just taking it slow and just going all the way around.
Thank you very much for your presentation.